Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is Buttermint Tea by Twinings, which I was just in the mood for. It's relaxing, but I don't think it's intended to be relaxing. It just happens to be. And refreshing. Good combination. So, I kind of meant this to be a Friday reads, but it's also a combination of Friday reads, just chatting, my weekend plans, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a title that I could use, like, you know, some people have used, you know, miscellaneous, hodgepodge, what was the other one, mega stuff or something. I have nothing like that. I would love to think of something related to tea. If you have any suggestions, they are welcome. And before I get started with the books that I've been reading, and etc., and things I plan to read, I thought I'd mention my original tag that I did in August, not because I'm trying to pressure anybody to do it, although you're perfectly welcome to do so. It had a bit of a upswing at some point in early autumn, and that was nice. Thank you guys. And it might pick up again because it's fitting as the year progresses. But there was an issue that some people are doing another tag, which when I did my searching so that I wouldn't duplicate a tag, this one didn't come up until later. There was one that existed, I think, a year or so previous that was called the booktube giving tag, which is a nice tag, and I think it's something related to charity, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I've noticed that some people are doing that tag, but calling it the book giving tag, and it's a little confusing. So if you have any inclination to do my tag, please obviously call it the book giving tag. If you're doing the booktube one, please call it the booktube giving tag. It's a little confusing. I'll leave the link to my tag down below. I just thought I'd give it a mention. Yeah, so I've been reading this month, in case you were wondering. The not as prolifically as I would have liked to have been so far. Usually November's a pretty good reading month for me, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. It's been, you know, ups and downs, busy, you know. I did a video very recently about what was going on with my cats, so that affected me, but I'm starting to pick up again. It's kind of like the weather, you know? The weather's been ups and downs so much lately. Right now, it's kind of a rainy-ish day. Past couple days been rainy. Before that, it was like almost summery. It was in the 70s, but it was good summery, that nice weather, but I didn't really get much of a chance to go out and enjoy it. I feel kind of sad about that. Normally I would have tried to find a way to get to the park or something. There was just too much going on with the cat and all kinds of stuff happening. But now I think we're going to get into that really late autumnal, almost wintry feeling. I don't know if I'm ready yet for winter, but I'm not going to complain because you know what? I can bake or something, right? So, and there's one other thing that might take away a little bit of my reading time starting Sunday. This is not a bad thing, but The Crown is coming back to Netflix. And it's weird because growing up, I never really was interested in the royal family, the living royal family. I would see them on television, you know, Princess Diana, Charles and Diana. They didn't really interest me. The Queen, I don't think I even knew about the existence of Prince Philip until later. And the kids, the Fergie and all that, I just, you know, I knew of their names a little bit, and that was pretty much it. And when I got into English history and I started reading about all the past kings and queens, even then I didn't care so much. And I read a biography on Elizabeth II, I don't know, a while back now, and it was an advanced reader copy, so that's the only reason I read it. And I thought it was good. It made me a little more interested. But even so, I don't know if it was something about the 80s styles even, because like Diana was supposed to be this big style icon well into the 90s, but I was not really into that look at all that she had, any of her styles or whatever. So it just doesn't, and I'm not that into fashion anyway, but even so. And the Queen was just going through her middle-age years, and I'm not knocking middle-age because I'm basically approaching that myself, but she didn't have the youthful glamour, you know, that she had earlier, and she didn't have the grandmotherly feeling that she has now, if that makes any sense, and that she's had for the past maybe 20 years. So it was kind of this in-between time that just, I guess, held no interest for me. So, and I should not be talking about looks at all the way my hair is today. These bangs are ridiculous. But anyway, so yeah, so the fact that I was only mildly interested in them, and then suddenly I watched The Crown, and they did a good job of making them interesting, fascinating almost. Not that I really admire them per se, just the way they have handled things, which I both disagree with and sometimes understand. And learning about Princess Margaret, another name that I was just only vaguely aware of, and then just she's just enough of a show in herself. So I've been looking forward to November's and this time of year because this is when it comes out, and so I was glad that this wasn't held back by any of the COVID or anything else. So it's coming out on Sunday on Netflix, and I will probably be spending time watching all of it. So, I mean, it kind of is based on real life, so I kind of nonfiction November-ish, I guess. And I'm actually really curious to see how they portray Diana and Margaret Thatcher and others. Last season, they did such an interesting take on Princess Anne. Like, not even a take, it was just, she was like the life of the entire year. But I was still disappointed because they left out the best part about Princess Anne, which was in the 70s when someone, not that this is a good thing that happened to her, but someone tried to kidnap her. And the way she fought him off and all the drama that went into that. Such a great account, and yet they didn't portray it. I'm like a little disappointed in that. So I'm curious what they're going to have and what they're going to leave out in the 80s. Anyway, let me know if you guys watch The Crown and if you're interested in it at all, or if you think it's just a bunch of whatever. Speaking of royalty, I finished Queen Victoria, 24 Days That Changed Her Life by Lucy Worsley. And I really liked it. I don't know if I would recommend it as the first introductory book about Queen Victoria. I mean, you do get the gist of her life here. And the days that she talks about, obviously it's not just about that day. There's a lot of background knowledge. It does cover a lot of important parts of her reign, I guess, and her life. But there's a few things that I feel like were left out. Like, for instance, hardly anything about the exhibition in, was it, I think 1851 or so, which I know was a big Prince Albert thing, but the Queen was involved in that too. I mean, she was, obviously interested in it. And it was only like maybe mentioned vaguely, that sort of thing. There's a few other accounts in the Queen's life that just really weren't covered, but I guess not everything could be, because this wasn't like the definitive biography of Queen Victoria. But what was written about her was good, and I learned a little more about the Koh-i-Noor diamond than I had really looked into. I mean, if I had read that in any other biographies, either I just didn't pay attention. I wonder if it was because of, again, television. When I watched the Doctor Who episode with David Tennant and Billie Piper, there was an episode where they found themselves in Scotland in 1879, and with Queen Victoria, and the Koh-i-Noor diamond was a big plot point there, and how it was constantly getting cut to shine better, and how that was a thing that they did in Britain, but how maybe the Indian peoples may not have understood quite why they would do such a thing. So I didn't know anything about the background behind that, and just little bits of her life. I had read months earlier. I read the first of 3 mystery stories about Bertie, which was like as if the Prince of Wales had done some investigating in his life, which is fun. And he refers to getting, was it typhoid fever, I think? But there's a lot more about it in here. There's a whole chapter devoted to that and how it changed things. So that was pretty cool. I did, and also a little bit about the meeting with Florence Nightingale, because I have this book by Gillian Gill, by Nightingales. It's called The Extraordinary Upbringing and Curious Life of Miss Florence Nightingale, one of my many book off $1 specials. And I've been wanting to read it. I just haven't found a time to put this in here. And all the blurbs in the back are of it is actually pretty cool. Almost, not all of, but many of them are either of writers that I have read or writers that I've specifically read the book that they mentioned. Alison Weir, author of Eleanor of Aquitaine. I love that book. Nancy Milford, author of Savage Beauty. And it's Vincent Millay. Oh my goodness. Totally recommended. Anna Beer, author of My Just Desire, which was about, is that the one I remember about Walter Raleigh? I think it was. And it was good. So anyway, so if they like this, maybe I'll like this one too, but I just haven't had a chance to pick it up and actually read it. We'll see. I've heard good things about this writer. I have other books, I think, by this writer, so we'll see if I get to that. I also, do I have it here with me? Yes! Very recently, I was able to also find this for $1. And I've been looking for this for such a long time. And now I have it. This is actually not nonfiction. This is, I think, this is, yeah, this is a historical fiction. But this is Victoria by Daisy Goodwin. This is what the television, someone's making noise out there. The television program with Jenna Coleman, also of Doctor Who fame. I'm talking about Doctor Who a lot today. I should have used my TARDIS mug today then. But anyway, I think that's what it's based on, so that could be fun. I want to see how close it is. Just going back to this book, there's a lot mentioned about Theodora, her sister, especially toward the beginning, and they seem to have a good relationship. They over-dramatized Theodora in the Victoria program. They made her out to be such a, I don't know if it's a Machiavellian or just messed up kind of resentful person, and she doesn't come across that way in real life. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. So here's a book I started. I haven't gotten that far, but it's kind of my totable book, so who knows if how far I'll get. But this is Shelf Discovery. This is one of my 4, prompt choices, the teen classics we never stop reading. I've already learned everything I need to know about A Wrinkle in Time, which I own, but I've never read, and I might still read it, and also the Mixed Up, I've never been able to say this book out, Mixed Up Files, from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Koningsberg. I have never read this book. I heard of it. It's one of those books you hear of and you see in libraries when you're there and you just never pick it up. And it's kind of a shame because it takes place in New York and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is like one of my favorite places ever, which I still haven't been back to since they reopened, but I don't know. I think you have to make an appointment. Come on. I can wait, but still. Oh, and I just heard, I know I'm going off into tangents, but this is what we do here. Welcome to Taking Tea with Catherine. I heard that there's going to be a big pre-Raphaelite exhibit special in Oxford, in the Ashmolean, I think it's called, museum, next spring. Now, I'm not going to be able to get to the UK by next spring, I'm pretty sure. But man, I love, as you probably know, the Pre-Raphaelites, the art. Love it so much. I actually did go to the Ashmolean Museum in 2016, and I really liked it. That would be a great combination. I know that some of the Pre-Raphaelite art, the mid Pre-Raphaelite, like after the founders were settled, there were others like Burne-Jones and Morris and that sort of thing. I think they did a lot of work in Oxford, and then others got involved and met up with, discovered people and etc. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened in Oxford anyway, or around Oxford, I should say. And so it'd be such a great thing. So guys, if you are near Oxford or in the UK at all, and so I guess that would count, London would count, that's not that far. It was like a day trip for me. Please try to get to it if you like that art at all, because I wish I could see it, but I'm gonna miss out. Say lovey. Anyway, but this book so far seems pretty good. Yes, I'm getting some spoilers, but I think I could deal with that because I knew that was coming. So, kind of books about books. I mentioned this last time also. Rebel Bookseller, just about what kind of goes into running books shops and stuff, and it is not easy. But I really will always love to read books about bookshops. And both running it and just plots that take place in bookshops. I have a very vague fantasy of running a bookshop, but it is probably more along the lines of not really anything realistic business-wise. So it's just you know what? We can have dreams that we don't really ever see coming true. It's kind of like having daydreams about flying, like flying, not being an airplane. You know it's not going to happen, but still dream, you know? But it's good. I mean, it's a little bit about the business of it too, but they just mentioned a folk singer in Chicago who I looked up that they happened to meet when they're about to open their bookshop, their children's bookshop, I think. Now I don't see the name. And as soon as I, okay, wait. It is Ella Jenkins. I have never heard of Ella Jenkins because I don't know much about folk singers, to be honest. But I looked her up and she's still alive and I'm like, okay, she's in her 90s. Now I gotta wait for that to come in the news. Sorry, that's very dark. But anyway, and I've made a little more progress in From Holmes to Sherlock. They're mentioning a certain person and they're not really getting into who they are. Like, you know, amongst the whole story about Sherlock Holmes and the portrayals of Sherlock Holmes and Conan Doyle's relationship with Sherlock Holmes, which after a while he kind of had he started to be at peace with his creation and realized just what a good deal it was, really. But there's interspersing in the chapters about somebody who loved Sherlock Holmes and played Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty and went to college. And it's like you realize that there's probably someone that I'm going to end up knowing who they are. But I'm kind of like, oh, just tell me who it is. You know, that happened in, what was that book about, the killer? I'm going to look it up. Hold on. I had to remember. Devil in the White City, Eric Larson, I think, when they were going on about a certain person. And then later on you find out who it was. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's a very important person. They invented this and that. Which I know it's supposed to be fun, but I kind of just like, tell me who it is. I don't need suspense. If I want suspense, I'll read a mystery, you know? Anyway, I'm just being cranky, I think. Cranky pants. I was on the subway and saw someone, anyway, not wearing a mask across from me. I'm like, you know, one thing if you're outdoors, whatever, but we're indoors. There's like an upswing. I can't deal. It makes me cranky, so it stayed with me. I told you I was going to ramble a little bit today. So anyway, another book this is the book that I'm really, okay, wait. Yes, this is the book I'm really, really getting into, and it doesn't seem like I am, but I really am. And that is Romantic Outlaws, The Extraordinary Lives of Mary Wollstonecraft and Her Daughter Mary Shelley by Charlotte Gordon. I looked it up so I could remember which book it was, but I don't remember that now, but I just wanted to remember when I read it. And it was a little while back. I read a biography of Percy Shelley, and so they spoke a lot about Mary Shelley and family, but this is a little more in-depth, actually a lot more in-depth, and again, more people from history just coming in, different writers, different politicians, different everything, somehow interspersed with these lives. It's just amazing how that happens. But I know I'd read a little bit about Mary Shelley, but I didn't realize really just what went into getting into a relationship with the poet. You know, it's kind of romantic and it's kind of annoying. It's like, man, it was really hard to do anything in those days, you know? So, but yeah, I'm pretty fascinated with both lives. It took me a while to get used to because each chapter basically is about mother and then daughter, mother, daughter, mother, daughter. So sometimes you forget because they'll mention names, and sometimes people have a, you know, relationship with like a relative named Fanny and a friend named Fanny, and you're like, wait, which one is this? And wait, who went to Scotland? You know, so it is confusing, and like sometimes they'll be talking about the French Revolution and as it's in the past, and then suddenly it's happening. Oh yeah, right. And you know, and they're both named Mary, so it can be a little confusing, but it's still quite a great book, and just made me more interested in reading more. So I dug this out, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to read this at all anytime soon. This I got in a New York Public Library sale for $1 a long time ago. And it's a little bent, and there's a little bit of highlighting in there. Bad highlighting, too. You know, it's like if you're going to highlight in a book, and you intend to, well, if somehow you know it's not going to always be in your hands, just do it neatly, that's all. The splotchy, just, oh, okay, I'm getting cranky again. But anyway, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, and by Mary Wollstonecraft. It's a Norton critical edition, just like my North and South that I had, that I still have to read. And which means that it doesn't just have the Vindication, it also has other writings by other people. George Eliot's in here, letters from Mary, Alex Wexler, Emma Rushenberg Clow. I don't know how to say this name. So you get a little background, you get a little learning about reforming and the rights of women and that sort of thing. So that could be very both interesting and scholarly. And I finally got this copy. This might be one of my last book orders for a while, but and this has an introduction by Charlotte Gordon. So this is Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, the 1818 text, because I wanted to get the original version. I don't know if I'll ever read the Victorian version, but maybe for October. But I wanted this original one, and so I'm very excited about that. Penguin editions are usually good ones. The picture's a little weird, but I have suddenly wanted to read Frankenstein. Growing up, I never wanted to. I don't know if it's because I always saw the same pictures of the old films with the screws in his head, and it just didn't interest me whatsoever. So now I'm getting to be, I don't know if it was, again, broken record, the Doctor Who episode from last year where they had the Villa Deodati, whatever it's called, with Polidori and Keats, not Keats, anybody but Keats, Byron, Shelley, and all the Shelleys, and the Doctor, and a Cyberman, but which was quite fitting, to be honest. But it was a little corny, but it made me kind of re-interested in reading Frankenstein as well. So more plans. Last but not least, I don't think, this is a book that I didn't want to carry with me because it was so pristine, and yet somehow within moments of me picking it up, I dropped it like 2 or 3 times, and so it's got a little dents in it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But this is, I started Timekeepers by Simon Garfield, and I think I'm going to like it. It's just about humans' relationship with time. That's basically what it's about. So it's a slight difference from the rest of the books I'm reading, and that's fine. So I think I've done enough talking for now. Let me know what you've been reading if you want to. If you like talking about these sort of things, please subscribe. And again, if you have any more suggestions for what you would call my miscellaneous videos, although it's kind of like a Friday Reads, I don't know what else to call it. So this is Catherine, taking tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book and chattery day.